Hello, everyone. I'm Pia Brown, Director, Events and Meetings at NACAC. Thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedules today to participate in the second part of our exhibitor tutorial, where the focus is on increasing student engagement, maximizing lead generation, and connecting with students who would thrive at your school using our new matchmaking tool. We're very excited about the performance of our first three spring 2022 fairs. The most recent one was actually yesterday, and definitely see a correlation between those successes and the implementation of the matchmaking feature. We're joined today by Holly Lazaro, Managing Director, GoToCollegeFairs, NACAC's exclusive technology service provider for students, virtual and in-person lead retrieval, who will be conducting today's webinar. I'm going to turn the webinar over to Holly. We have so much good information to share that let's jump right in it, Holly.
Thanks, Pia. Sounds good. So I'll do some housekeeping first. While we're in webinar, all participants are on mute. However, at the bottom of your screen or the window that you opened when you logged into this webinar, you will find a little toolbar. On that toolbar, you'll find an icon labeled Q&A. And depending on the device that you're using, you may need to mouse over the bottom of the screen or window in order to see that toolbar. On that toolbar, you'll open the Q&A box, and that will get you all set to ask your questions and see the questions that are being asked by other people. So we recommend that you go ahead and open that now, because questions will flow in during the course of the webinar. And we have other folks from NACAC and GoToCollegeFairs who will be answering those questions as they arise. So what you want to do is make sure you check the answered portion of that box to see if your question has already been asked and answered. That's really helpful. And also we will answer several questions live. So make sure that you check to see if your question has been answered before you pose it. That's helpful for everybody. We do anticipate a lot of questions on this webinar, so we appreciate your help in advance to manage those well. The folks on the call who are managing questions will collate the questions that are similar, and we will ask those live. So if a lot of people ask the same question, we will answer it live, but just take a quick check and make sure that your question has at least been looked at. Please note, we will not be answering questions from anonymous attendees. So it's important for you to allow us to see your name on the question that you ask. That's really helpful for us. We know that all your questions are really important, so we do thank you in advance for allowing us to answer it by including your name. Thank you. So today's webinar is, as Pia mentioned, the second in a bit of a two-part series, with part one last week being more of a tutorial on how to get the most out of your virtual fairs, and today's webinar being more about the college matchmaking and student engagement specifically. We know you have a lot of questions about how our platform has been able to generate so many highly qualified leads, and today's webinar will really help you understand that better. So last week, you may recall that we showed you this data. The GoToCollegeFairs platform is delivering a new experience for NACAC virtual college fairs. And so we discussed in greater length on last week's webinar the multiple ways that you can expect to benefit from the GoToCollegeFairs platform features. You'll find increased activity in booth visits, increased engagement in chats and presentations, and you now have the ability to even greet a visitor and say hello when they enter your virtual booth. For more on those great engagement opportunities, please do view last week's webinar. You'll find a great deal of information which will really help you maximize your virtual college fair experience. And we will be sending the recording for both today's webinar and last week's webinar as a bit of a package, our two-part series, to all registrants from both webinars. So you'll get it. Please watch it. We think that you're really going to benefit from it. Today, let's pay closer attention to the graph showing average success by institution size. Now, keep in mind, we're measuring success in both conversations and leads generated. We know that student engagement of all sorts is important when measuring the success of a college fair. Upon closer inspection, you will notice that no matter what your institution size, you can really benefit from the college matchmaking service. It exponentially increases the number of leads you will gain from each college fair. Looking at these numbers, you may ask yourself, how is this possible? And we really understand that, which is why we're hosting this webinar specifically to help you understand how it's possible. Let's take a look at the college matchmaking service as a whole. That's going to help you understand how it's actually helping students, colleges, and NACAC as the fair organizer to have a more engaged college fair. Then you'll see how that more engaged college fair is producing highly qualified leads for your college. Here's how it works. During the registration process, colleges select the attributes that describe their campus experience. These attributes are campus size, campus setting, majors offered, institution type, and geographic region. Once all the virtual booths are set up, we allow students to begin registration. So during that registration process, students also select attributes that are desired in their college experience: campus size, campus setting, majors offered, institution type, and geographic region. Collecting this data from both students and colleges allows us to match on these attributes. This is not only incredibly useful to both parties, but it supports the original intention of the college fair, which is to help students and colleges discover each other. We all know that students often have an idea of which college they want to attend when they begin the college search process. However, that search process, when done well, uncovers new college opportunities that students didn't know about. College matchmaking is placing that important bit of discernment much closer to the front of the college search process. So while you do get students matched as leads, students also get matched colleges emailed to them. Please note here, we define match as at least 4 out of the 5 attributes matching. That means that these are, again, highly qualified leads for both students and colleges. At least 4 of the 5 available attributes must be a match in order for us to deliver that to colleges or students as a match. So now's a good time for us to show you what the student experience looks like. Again, this is all in helping you understand how these are very qualified leads and a more engaged college fair. This email shows this is an actual email. So this email shows the student their best match and their close match. So we mentioned a moment ago, matches are discerned as at least 4 out of 5. So in the email, we actually break that down for them. Here are your best match colleges, and we define for them, these match 5 out of 5. That's why we call them a best match. They are a complete match to everything that you reported you're interested in. So these are the 5 out of 5. It's usually a very short list. 5 to 8 colleges will match that student attribute. And we also show, here are your close matches. Obviously, defining that again, 4 out of the 5 attributes match your selections as a student. This email also has, below this list of matches, a list of suggested questions that the student might want to ask when meeting with the college at the fair. This has produced measurable data that shows students are actually attending the college fairs at greater number because they understand how to engage there. So what I mean by that is we have a number of students who register for a college fair, and then we have a different number of students who actually attend a college fair. This college matchmaking process has increased the number of students who register and attend. There's always going to be some attrition. There's always going to be drop off, especially because students don't pay for this fair. So anything you don't pay for, you may or may not show up for. But students are across the board, the data shows, attending the fairs in a higher number since we placed matchmaking into the mix. And so we believe that this email is really supporting students in an incredible way by showing them a bit of a roadmap of how to engage and experience success at the college fair. So they not only have a list of, these are the schools I definitely want to see, but they also have a list of, here's what I want to say when I get there. Of course, this is also increasing, again, this is all from the data that we collect. This is also increasing the number of colleges that students visit by 2 times. Previously, the number of students that college visit at an in-person or virtual fair was about 4 or 5. And that makes sense because there's only so many colleges you can see in a short period of time. with college matchmaking in place, that metric is actually closer to 8 to 10. So students are getting around to see more colleges. They're motivated to see more colleges because they have this short list of colleges that they now feel like, I definitely have to see and engage with that school. So we're seeing some very measurable data that shows us, as Pia mentioned earlier, these fairs are more successful. And we really attribute a lot of that to the matchmaking service. And it was important to us to explain to you as colleges how our service to the student is really driving that into your booth and into your lead set. So now it's a little bit easier to see how the increased engagement offers a better college fair for all involved. Students map a better college experience with the email that's customized to their preferences. This is absolutely customized to them. So sometimes we call it an AI college counselor. If a college counselor at their secondary school had the time and resources, we know that they would sit down with a student and say, what are you interested in? And then say, here are the colleges that match your interests. This is what matchmaking is doing for students from a computerized standpoint. So this is a great service, fully customized to them. And that has shown just great results. Of course, that results in better engagement for you as a college. So colleges on average, as you saw in the graph earlier, get about 10 times more leads from a college fair that includes college matchmaking. NACAC has this service in place for both virtual and in-person college fairs this spring. So we can see that this matchmaking service is really driving a new, fresh experience at the college fairs. And we wanted you to really understand how and why we were getting that done. I don't have much more to say about it. I think it's a pretty straightforward process, but we have allowed 20 minutes of Q&A because we know that there are going to be a lot of questions about this service. And if you've already seen the results of this service, it may have been somewhat unbelievable to you and you didn't know what to do with your lead set because it looked almost maybe like something had gone wrong. I don't know, but it's right. These qualified leads are going to your lead portal, your GoToCollegeFairs secure lead portal. And so download them and engage these students. They want to hear from you. You are a match for them. So I'm going to actually roll right into the Q&A now because I think that we've done, we slotted a 30-minute time for this webinar. And the reason for that is because it's a pretty straightforward thing. Matchmaking is not difficult to understand. The problem that we're experiencing is people don't really make the connection between this gigantic lead set that they're getting and how that all happened. So I hope that I was able to explain that to you, and I'm going to open the Q&A box now to see what the questions might be because I know that there are questions. Okay, so I'm going up to the top of the Q&A box and I'll ask our friends on the call who are answering questions to work with the questions below the one that I'm working on and then just answer them by messaging or dismiss them if we've already answered them. So I'll start with Dr. Stephen Coyle. Thank you for giving us your name. This is Dr. Stephen Coyle with Universal Technical Institute. We would love to participate, but we aren't allowed to because we are for profit. And lots of other questions. I think this is a NACAC question. Would someone from NACAC answer this question because we don't have any gates around who's allowed to participate. Those are NACAC decisions.
Hey, Dr. Coyle, thank you so much for your question. I'm sure you have visited our website and seen the eligibility criteria for our college fairs. I'm happy to have a conversation with you offline, looking at your specifics, because while we do have eligibility criteria on our website, there are instances, especially for some of our specialized fairs, where we do see that there is an opportunity. So if you don't mind, I'd like to follow up with you after this webinar.
All right, thank you, Pia. Okay, we did say we weren't going to take anonymous questions, but Maggie is lobbing me an anonymous question, and I think it's fair. So I think that this is a great question that Maggie knew that I wanted to answer. I knew that it would come up. So after this, we're not allowing anonymous questions. Okay, so The question that's posed is, when completing the matchmaking form for our institution, how do we know what geographic region we are? So I left on our Q&A page, the slide that's up right now, the 5 categories for matchmaking. So they're campus size, campus setting, majors offered, institution type, and geographic region. The fair organizer selects the possible answers that are appropriate for the audience they are serving with that fair. I'm going to say that again, and then I'm going to explain it. The fair organizer, so in this case, NACAC, selects the answers available that are appropriate for the audiences at that college fair. So here's an example. If we had a regional fair, say Northeast US, and we're hosting a regional fair, and that's the audience that we're serving, the geographic regions that we would allow as a possible answer to that question would probably be something like Vermont, New Hampshire, New England, or something like that, that is germane to that particular audience because it's a regional fair. Now, let's say there's a national college fair. In that case, the answer is to same categories: majors offered, campus size, campus setting, institution type, geographic region. In that case, the geographic region possible answers would change, because then we would want to expand out to any, all over the US. So then in that case, we might say Northeast US, Southwest US. So, but we would definitely not say Northeast US if the region of the fair were only Northeast US. So we allow the fair organizer to select appropriate answers to each question of attribute: geographic region, campus size, campus setting, etc., as is appropriate for the fair that they are hosting. I hope that makes sense. So a state-driven fair or a PVA or STEM fair might have different campus size, might have different majors offered. So we allow the fair organizer to really have agency over what they think is best for the students and colleges participating in that college fair. So to answer your question, I just wanted to make sure I set the table for that. To answer your question, you know that the region that you're selecting is appropriate if that is the region where you exist in the world. So we only allow you to pick one geographic region. So if your campus is in a 3-dimensional place on the planet, pick the place that campus is. Now, some of you have campuses that are multi-campus institutions. We ask that you would choose the flagship location, because we think that makes the most sense, or you can also choose the location that makes the most sense for that particular college fair. So for example, I don't know, some universities have a widespread campus opportunities. In that case, you want to choose the one that's going to serve the students best at this particular college fair. So I hope that answers the question. It's sort of a twofold answer. One is the attributes that you are able to select when you see the matchmaking questions for you as a college. Those are selected by your fair organizer, and they know best. They're organizing the fair. NACAC's been doing this for a long, long time, so they know exactly which attributes are going to be the right ones to serve both students and colleges at that particular fair. You as a college want to make sure that you have selected the geographic region that's going to serve the students best, and frankly, going to produce the most results of students from that particular fair. So choose the geographic region that makes sense for your college fair. I hope that helps. Maggie, you can dismiss that question, please. Melissa Cato asks, how do we know our college, sorry, I jumped. How do we know our college is set up properly in your database to make the actual match? So the answer is, be careful with your matchmaking answers. Each college fair allows you to answer those questions discreetly. And this actually leans on what I just mentioned a moment ago. So for different NACAC fairs, you're going to have to answer those matchmaking questions every time, because NACAC may have selected different attributes that are possible answers different values that are possible answers under the attributes. So you have to go in and answer matchmaking for every single fair. And that is not to frustrate you. It is not redundancy. It is not broken. It is so that you can really fine tune your matchmaking answers to get the most results in the college fair for you. So do go in and answer those questions for every college fair that you've registered. It is on purpose. We know that it may seem redundant. Why do I have to answer these questions again? And I hope that I'm effectively explaining to you why we ask you to answer those questions discreetly for each individual fair. We want you to match well with students who are attending. Okay. Chanel Young asks, do the leads get sent to us after the virtual fair, or will there be an area we can go back into the virtual booth to, okay, so to access the lead information? So the answer is kind of yes, and there is a location in your virtual booth that you can click through to get to your lead portal. However, we are delivering the matchmaking leads after you attend the fair for the obvious reasons. We don't want to send out matchmaking leads, which are robust, and then someone cancels and doesn't come to the fair. That would be inappropriate for us to share data with colleges who did not attend. That's our privacy policy. We're very strict about that, how we handle data. So it would be not appropriate for us to send out leads if you did not participate in the fair. So you get your matchmaking leads after the college fair. And let me just put a note on that. She said, do they get sent to us after the fair? Technically, they don't get sent to you. You do go retrieve them from your secure lead portal. And Maggie, maybe if you could drop into the chat the link to the knowledge base article on how to access your leads, that would be helpful for folks who maybe don't have a lot of experience accessing their lead portal. We don't want you to put questions in the chat. Please keep your questions in the Q&A box. However, we'll put some helpful tools in the chat for you. So Maggie's going to drop in an article from our knowledge base, which, by the way, you can learn a lot in our knowledge base. So if you have questions following up this meeting, you can certainly go to our knowledge base, start on one of the links that Maggie, and I'm actually going to put a link in there too, start on one of the links that we drop in. So we would encourage you to grab those links. Let me put mine in now. And then you can click around the knowledge base and get some additional questions answered. So we're directing you to some very specific articles, but there are over 100 articles in the knowledge base that can answer a lot of the questions if you don't get a chance to ask them and get them answered on today's call. So I'm going to put an article in the chat right now that just tells you a little bit more about college matchmaking. So you may find that useful, and I would encourage you to go into the chat and copy and paste that article. And then Maggie, in a moment, will be putting in the article about how to access your lead portal. It's very important to NACAC and to GoToCollegeFairs that we handle student data securely. So we do not email out leads or send leads in an insecure way. What we do is we ask you to sign in with a username and password and get your leads that way. It's a much more secure way, and we believe it's the right way to handle student data. So to answer the first bit of your question, they don't technically get sent to you after the fair, but they are available in your portal in real time. So as soon as the fair starts and you're in, you get leads. Okay, I hope that's... Joe, is there more you want to say about leads and security, or do you think I handled it effectively?
I think that was good, Holly. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so Maggie is lobbing me a question from Jacob. Thank you, Jacob, for your question. Greg, I don't know if you can see Jacob's question, if you want to say anything about what's coming, but I will answer it on the face of what's happening right now, and you can decide to chime in if you'd like to. The question, is it please possible to see what suggested questions students receive from completing the college matchmaking form to help them better engage the colleges at the virtual/in-person visits? I think what you're asking, and forgive me for rephrasing, Jacob, thank you for your good question. I think what you're asking is there a way for you to see what the answers were to the student questions, so you know when you meet with them at the fair, are you a match or did they just wander over? I think that's your question. So I'm going to answer it in two ways. First, there's not currently a way for you to see that at the fair. However, in your lead set, in column BY, I believe it is, in your lead set, when you get it by logging into your secure portal after the fair, you will see in that column a very long list of how that student engaged you. So you'll see if they visited your booth. You'll even see how many times they visited your booth, because kids come back. You'll see if they matched to you, and if they matched, you will see the attributes that they matched on. So it's a really useful thing for you to be able to see how that student is a fit for your school. So you can exercise that data in your follow-up efforts. There is not currently a way for you to see that during the fair itself.
Holly, I'm just going to chime in on that. And the answer is you nailed it. You got it exactly right. However, that is on our roadmap for the virtual, is to, when the student enters the booth, to be able to show the booth representative all the information related to that student, including the answers that they chose. So that is on the roadmap for this year. It's probably in the second quarter release, but that is definitely forthcoming.
Thanks, Greg. I knew that was on the roadmap, so I just wanted. Okay, Maggie, if you can dismiss that question, please, and thank you. Okay, next question. Steve asks, I'm looking at a recent FairStop Excel file of exported leads. So this is actually the file. Oh, perfect. This is exactly what I just said. In column BY, it shows how a student matched with our institution. That's perfect. Wow. Great segue. Thank you, Steve. Is there another column or tab that only lists the students that visited our booth? I'm going to ask you to do this one too, Greg. Or attended one of our live presentations. That would be really helpful, but maybe I'm just missing it on the Excel. Actually, I'll handle it, Greg. So the reason, Steve, that it's all jammed into that column BY is because that's where we were pre-COVID, offering you the opportunity when you scan a student to make rep notes. So I don't know, Steve, if you've ever used the Go to College Fairs mobile scan app to scan students at a NACAC college fair or perhaps elsewhere. But in that scanning app, you have an opportunity to make notes on the student that you scan. And so there's a column BY, which allows you to see the notes that you made at an in-person fair. Because we all had to move very quickly when COVID hit, we decided not to change the format of the leads when we deliver them to colleges. We felt that that would be unnecessarily frustrating because colleges would have to remap the fields. And that was just not something we wanted to do during a time of the pandemic, and everybody was really scrambling in other ways, and we just didn't want to complicate your life. We still truly don't want to complicate your life. So we're figuring out a way to change the import just one time. That will be coming soon, but we want to make sure that when we change it, we haven't changed it since like 2014 because we don't want anybody to have to remap their fields. So your data manager understands what I'm talking about right now. But at the end of the day, what we're saying is we want you to continue to have the data flow in as it always has. So we sort of shoved all that data into the notes column, which already existed. We do understand and appreciate and agree that having that data listed in discrete columns is highly useful for you, and that you can start to sort on those columns. So we know that that's true, and we do believe that it's enough of a catalyst for us to go ahead and redo the import routine. But we are really taking our time with that so that we don't have to do it a couple times and frustrate colleges. So that's coming soon. It is absolutely on our list roadmap, but the reasons we haven't done it yet and the reasons we're taking our time doing it is so that we can do it the right way and serve all the colleges really well by only doing it once. Hope that's helpful. Maggie, if you can dismiss that question, please, and thank you. Okay, so Lisa asks, is there any academic data included with the lead information? The answer to this is yes. Anything that we collect on the student registration form. And I do believe NACAC, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe you're allowing students to self-report GPA. That's what she's asking for specifically. Joe, can you remind me whether that's still true or not?
I'd have to double check the form, Holly.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't remember either. We used to collect self-reported GPA. So Lisa, the answer to the question is that anything that we're collecting in the registration form is being delivered to you in the leads. So yes is the answer to your question. And academic info also can include graduation year. And so take a look at you can really look at the NACAC registration file to show what's form to show what you can expect in your lead file. Hope that helps. Maggie, go ahead and dismiss. So Christy is asking, is there additional cost for leads if we utilize the college matchmaking functionality? Here's the great news. With NACAC college fairs, all of your leads are included. So this is another reason it's a little bit unbelievable. So we're delivering these 10x leads for the same price that you're getting. It's just a flat, as many leads as you can get. That's included in your NACAC college fair. So that's great. It's great news. And the answer is no, there is no additional cost for college matchmaking at the NACAC college fairs. Okay, Joseph is asking, okay, we're coming up on 12:30, so there are several questions. I'm good to stay. I think these are important questions, so I'm going to keep going. But if you need to jump off, as we promised, this would be a 30-minute webinar, go ahead and jump off. We are going to send you the recording, and all these questions will be included in the recording. So you'll be able to scoop up any questions that you missed by having to leave early. So we hope you can stay. We will stay too, but if you can't, go ahead and watch the recording, skip to the end, and you'll be able to see the answers that you weren't able to stay and hear the answers for the questions and answers. Thank you for coming. If you're jumping off, thank you for coming. We're glad that you're engaging with us on this topic, and we're excited to give you more information. So Joseph asks, for geographic region, there is an option of South and Southeast, and we're in Florida. That could really be considered in either of those. Which is the best to choose? Okay, so not to pass the buck, Joseph, but the truth is, you know the answer to that question better than we do. And this is what I was saying a moment ago. You know what your students would call it. You know what your students would want. So I think that, you know, NACAC maybe wants to take this into consideration when we think about the answer sets, but I think that you could legitimately choose either of those, and it's really up to you how you want to categorize yourself. I don't mean to pass the buck there, but it's really not something I can answer for you. It's not a scripted answer. It's really a preference that your campus is, okay, we want to be designated as a college of the South or a college of the Southeast. So that's the best answer I can give you there. Okay, Andy is saying, I'm still confused about geographic regions. When we fill out our matchmaking form on the GoToCollegeFairs website, it asks us to put down which region our school is in. Colorado is a state that has been put into many different regions over the years. Does NACAC consider Colorado to be in the West, Southwest? Does NACAC have a map showing which states they consider to be in which regions? I think we do have that map. Someone's gonna have to help me out, NACAC or Maggie. I think we have that map. It shows up for the students.
We do have a map that shows up for the students when they register. And Joseph, and who asked that? Andy? Andy, I can get back with you on that answer for Colorado. I just have to pull up the map and see.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking is it might be useful for the colleges to be able to see the map and how we're designating it when they answer their matchmaking questions. So I think what I'm taking from this question is something that we could maybe, we don't do it right now, but maybe something that would be good for us to do. So Maggie, if you would write down that bit for me so that we can remember, and we'll kind of work on a way for colleges to be able to see that. NACAC, do you agree? You're muted, Joe.
Yes, I agree.
I agree, Holly.
Okay, I'm sorry. What, Pia?
I said I agree.
Yeah,
I agree
I think it's actually quite helpful for them to see how we are designating those regions, and then they know. That's really good. Thank you both. Thank you everybody who asked about geographic region. You know, it's a work in progress, and we love feedback, and it helps us to improve. So I think that would be really helpful. Maggie, if you can dismiss those questions that I've answered, that will help me to stay focused on the answers that are at the top. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to mispronounce your name, but the next question asks, you mentioned students receive suggestions of questions they may use when talking to colleges. Would you be able to share what these questions are? I can just share that they are they're sort of generic questions like what do students appreciate about your campus? What do students dislike about your campus? What some questions about financial aid? They're just They're just the usual questions that we all kind of ask and answer. I think I might be able to pull up the blog that we got those questions from. Give me 1 second to do that. Actually, I'll tell you this, you can find it on the Go to College Fairs blog. We wrote a blog, 10 questions to ask colleges at a college fair. So look for that blog on our website. Those are the questions we put in the email. That answers that quite straightforwardly. So if you're interested in the questions, go ahead on our GoToCollegeFairs.com, click on blog. I think it's under resources, and look for the blog that says 10 questions students should answer colleges at a college fair. Those are the questions that we're supplying to students. Okay, good question. Oh, Steve again. Hi, Steve. So Maggie, if you could dismiss the question at the top. In the future, Steve says, he thinks it would be much easier to have a separate tab with the information for students that simply matched versus the students who engaged in our booth. Yeah, I agree. These are really two different populations in terms of real engagement versus matching. So this is a good time for me to say two things. One, we believe that matchmaking is a real engagement. So I'll correct that terminology with your forgiveness, because by selecting the attributes that a student wants, they may not make it to the college fair. So you should assume that they would have engaged with you if they were able to attend. So I think that it's really important for us to understand matchmaking leads are genuine, qualified leads. Having said that, we also do report if someone visited your booth and was a match, and you're going to find that a lot of your booth visits are also a match. So this is another data point that underscores that matchmaking leads are real, genuine leads. So just because a student wasn't able to get around to see you doesn't mean that they didn't want to. Perhaps the fair expired before they were able to do so. But we really believe that matchmaking are qualified, engaged leads. Did they talk to you? Maybe not. But that's also true of kids who come to the booth. They may not actually chat with you. So we think that we should start to think more about these matchmaking leads being very, very engaged leads. And so I do agree that we want to separate them out so that you can see them and process your leads accordingly. But what you will find when you look at column BY, and then when we separate those columns out, is that there is a lot of cross-pollination. Students who visit your booth were matches. And the reason they came is probably because we matched them. So be thinking a little bit differently about that. I would encourage all the colleges on this call, just be thinking a little bit differently about that and follow up with students who are matched to you, because they have at least 4 out of 5 attributes that they want right now that your school serves. So I can't stress enough not to dismiss the matchmaking leads. They are highly qualified, closely matched students for you. Okay, that's the last question I have in my bucket. Is there any other question that I can answer? Maggie, you can dismiss. Thank you, Steve, for your great question. Oh, here's a new one. We are attending 2 national college fairs this spring. Is the app included in the registration fee? The answer is yes. In fact, you have unlimited users, so you'll be able to go in, and no matter how many people you have at your booth, they all can use the app at no additional cost. You're welcome, Ryan. Thank you for your question.
Holly, if you're able to check the message that I sent you, I think it might be beneficial to show the map for just a couple of people. If you're able to do that, I think that might be helpful, and we can also send that out afterwards with the webinar link.
So is this the map for every NACAC fair?
Yes.
Okay, then
This is the student registration map.
I'm actually going to do some shenanigans here and just slide this over into the portion of my screen that I am sharing. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Thanks for that, Greg. That was good. So for those of you who are wondering what region you are in, Greg was Johnny on the spot, and now this is the map. But we also, as I said before, we do believe that we'll probably try to include this in the college registration process. I mean, I think that we can just put this in the college reg process. So we'll figure that out, but I'll leave it up because there were a lot of questions about geographic region. I don't know if you can see, it's pretty small. Oh, Okay, now it's too big. Sorry.
It was good. It's very visible.
Okay, thanks. Okay, coming up on 12:40, I don't see any additional questions. These were really good questions. I'm really glad we allowed a lot of time for question and answer. As I said a moment ago, we will be sending actually both webinars to registrants for both webinars. We believe this is a bit of a two-part series that is beneficial for both the first part, which was last week, sort of a tutorial on how to build your booth and get the most out of it at a virtual college fair. And then this bit, which is about college matchmaking and student engagement, matchmaking specifically. And that's something that's in place, as I said, at NACAC's virtual and in-person college fairs this spring. So it's really important for you to understand how it works, why it's generating so many leads, and how you should absolutely positively go after all of those leads as engaged, qualified student leads for you, because matching is 4 or 5 out of 5 selected attributes match the student and the college together. So highly qualified leads, highly qualified leads, highly qualified leads. Don't have any trepidation entering them into your database. They are students who want to hear from you because you are a match for them. And so any other questions? I'll do last call on the questions. Remember that Maggie and I placed into the chat 2 additional resources for you from our knowledge base. One is the article on what is matchmaking and sort of a recap of what we did today. And the other is an article on how to obtain your lead data and about the secure login and how to make sure that you're all set to go get those leads. They are available to you in real time. So as soon as someone hits your booth, we are pushing those leads into your portal. So read those articles, grab them out of the chat before I end the meeting because it will disappear. And then click around. There are a lot of questions that can be answered in our knowledge base, and we are constantly adding articles to serve you better. So I would even bookmark the knowledge base because it's going to help you a lot as you walk through your spring recruiting season at NACAC College Fairs, virtual and in person. So bookmark the knowledge base, read the articles that we've dropped in, but click around and read other articles as well. We will send out the recording shortly within the next few days, definitely by the end of this week. We'll send the recording of both webinars out to both audiences, and we are so grateful for your time. We know that time is a highly valuable resource for everyone, and we are so, so grateful that you gave it to us today. I will wrap up. If NACAC, Pia, do you have any parting thoughts?
Thank you again, everyone, for participating in today's webinar. We're learning more things, and especially from some of the questions that you posed. Your participation and your input certainly helps us to make the features that we offer even stronger. So thank you so very much. And we look forward to seeing you this spring and on into the rest of the calendar year.
All right, thanks everyone, and we will send out this information soon. Click around the knowledge base if you have additional questions. You can also reach us at info@GoToCollegeFairs.com. Thanks for coming. We'll see you soon.